Hey there everyone, it's Hayden here. I've just gotten back from the grocery store and it is time for another episode of Cooking with Hayden! Since yesterday's video, a couple of things have changed. Well, really only one thing has changed. And that is that I'm trying the keto diet. And in order to celebrate our keto regimen, we will be making some Keto Chocolate Chip Cookies! So without further ado, let's jump right into things, shall we? Our very first step is in a large bowl, that will be this one, combine your flours, sweeteners, your xanthan gum, your baking soda, and your baking powder. So we're gonna start off by doing just that. So first off, we will be whipping in our organic coconut flour. This is Bob's Red Mill coconut flour. And we are in need of a 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of coconut flour. 1, 2. Next up, we will be mixing in our almond flour, which sounds very similar, except for the only difference is that it's almond instead of coconuts. We will be using 1 cup of almond flour. While we're measuring out the almond flour,
how are the kids? How's the family? How'd Susie finish off at school this year? What are you guys doing for summer break? Anything fun? I hope so. I hope so.
Next up, we're going to be adding in our xanthan gum. The closest thing I can compare this stuff to is
glue,
which is always good to know that something that resembles glue is going into something you'll be putting into your body. We love that. We're going to be using a 1/4 teaspoon. And next up, we're going to be adding in our baking powder, not to be confused with baking soda, which we also use in the recipe. And I'm not sure what the difference between the two is, so don't even start to ask me. But for the baking powder, we're going to be using, let's just see here, a 1/4 teaspoon. Next up, we'll just do a 180 there and jump to our baking soda. I'm guessing it's going to be a 1/4 teaspoon, but I guess we'll see. And I was incorrect. It's actually 1/2 teaspoon of the baking powder. Yes, 1/2 teaspoon of the baking soda. In it goes. And that's that. Our final dry ingredient is our salt, and we will be using a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Let's see, that's good. And in it goes. Now we are going to combine all of our dry ingredients using our mini whisk. And while we combine, I figured we'll just read some questions out to the crowd. I figured that could be a fun activity. If you could live in a book, a TV show, or a movie, what would it be? Well, I would choose to live in a movie, and that movie would be Mamma Mia. For one, I'm just a huge fan of musical movies. I think they're absolutely fabulous. And Mamma Mia has an excellent soundtrack to it. ABBA, if I could just run around singing ABBA all the time, I would really just be living a great life. And, not to mention the third point, it is set in the beautiful islands of Greece. And Greece has always been on my travel bucket list. So if I were living there, I was singing ABBA all the time, was just running around, controlling my own little island. And I think I would have an excellent time. So I would absolutely choose Mamma Mia. If you had to choose to live without one of your 5 senses, which one would it be and why? I think I'm gonna go with smell on this one. And as weird as that is, a lot of people love smells, but smells could also be nasty. And most of the things I'm smelling I end up eating, so as long as I am still able to eat it, I think everything would just be a-okay. So those dry ingredients are ready.
Beautiful.
And we're just gonna set these to the side for now as we prepare our wet ingredients. To start off, we're gonna toss in our sweeteners. For our sweetener, we'll be using truvia. We're just gonna do 7 tablespoons of truvia. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the 7. Okay. Next up, we will be tossing in some eggs.
No, you will not.
We add the eggs after we've done all the wet ingredients. So next up, we'll be tossing in some grandma's molasses. And for grandma's molasses, we will be using 1/2 of a teaspoon. This is an optional ingredient, but it gets, oh my God, see the molasses. Ugh, this honestly smells so disgusting. Next up, we'll be tossing in our vanilla extract, and for the vanilla extract, we're going to also want to use 1 teaspoon. 1 teaspoon of vanilla. In it goes. Our last and final one is our butter, and we will be using 1/4 cup of butter plus 2 tablespoons. Now, I don't know why they couldn't have just said 6 tablespoons of butter.
That would have been a lot easier.
It has already been softened thanks to Chef Eileen. And now we're going to go ahead and mix all of our wet ingredients together. I have gone ahead and gotten out another whisk to beat this with. The beating of this ingredients, folks. Whew, I'm sweating. Takes a lot more work than I had initially signed off for. Would you rather live in the city or the woods? Why? I would definitely rather live in the city because I'm a very spontaneous, on the move, adventurous type of gal. And there's nothing to do in the woods unless you are particularly fond of camping, which I am not. I need good restaurants, a good atmosphere, just a lively, on-the-go sense of life. And that's what the city has to provide. Okay, so I would say our wet ingredients are looking thoroughly fluffy. So now we will be adding in our eggs. 1 and 2. You could have one superpower, what would it be? I would have the superpower of teleportation because it would make traveling a whole lot easier. I would save a ton of money because I would never have to buy a plane ticket ever again. And if I just needed to escape, I could just snap my fingers and be in another place instantly. So definitely teleportation. Also, if there was like something big happening across the world that needed my assistance, I could just teleport my fingers and go help some people out. So that'd be fun. All right, I would say that is looking delicious. Now, we will be pouring our wet mixture into the dry mixture and just stirring it all together until a thick dough forms. Honestly, looks kind of disgusting right now, but I think it's gonna be a lot better. What animal best represents you and why? Dory from Finding Nemo. I can't exactly remember what type of fish Dory is, but Dory's main character trait is that she has a terrible memory, and I have a terrible memory.
Wait a minute. Who are you?
But I also love the ocean, love the water, love to swim. It's just fun to sort of dart around to and have one thing from the next going inside your mind and what you'd like to do in the world. Dory also loves to go on big adventures. She goes on that whole adventure to find her parents. I like to go on fun adventures, so yeah, put it all together, and I'm Dory.
Oh, hell no!
Delicious!
So now we will be tossing in our 1/4 cup of chocolate chips. And I did sort of a voluptuous scoop so that we would have a little extra. As we mix together the final product, we will have one more question, and let's have a guest star ask our next question. It's Chef Eileen! Mother, what question would you like to know?
Any question?
Yep.
If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Can I have a food in each category, like a breakfast, lunch, dinner?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. So for breakfast, I will be sticking with French toast. For lunch, I will be eating a lobster roll. And for dinner, I will be eating carbonara pasta. And for dessert, I will be eating a molten lava cake with some raspberry drizzle.
Not even any thought. That was impressive.
Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
I will now be cooling this dough in the fridge for about 20 minutes, so I'll see you all when the dough is cooled and we're ready to pop these suckers in the oven. And we're back, folks. I've just gone ahead and taken our dough out of the fridge. Now, we will be forming them into little balls and then flattening them with the back of the spoon and baking these puppies in the oven. We'll just do like little mini morsels. Our cookies are flattened. They're all on the parchment paper on the baking sheet and ready to roll. Alrighty, I'm gonna start our clock and I will see you guys soon for the big reveal. Alright folks, time to whip these puppies out of the oven. Next up, we're just gonna let them hang out and cool on the counter for about 15 minutes and I'll jump in so I can try the final bite for the camera. Alrighty folks, so 15 minutes is up. Let's see what we think. Here we go. Okay. They're actually really delicious. They're much softer than your normal cookie. You can taste a bit of a different texture. They're a little almost grainier, I would say, than your normal chocolate chip cookie, but they're really quite delicious. I'm enjoying this a lot.
I think they're great.
I'm gonna go back to making these for sure. So, if you want this recipe, I'll link it in the description below. Let me know what you think if you try these at home. That is all for today's video. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Go get yourself a keto chocolate chip cookie. And I will see you in the next one. Deuces and smooches. Bye.